Hello friends of the dojo. I'm standing here outside on this beautiful November day. It's warm outside and I'm standing in a field of cat-o'-nine-tails behind me in a river in beautiful southwestern Ohio. We're about 20 to 30 miles northeast of Cincinnati in the USA, and we're very happy to be with you today. This is a bunch of questions that you guys sent in through email, through YouTube, through Facebook, and letters that I get. First of all, thanks. We're over our 16,000 subscriber mark, so we appreciate everyone who subscribes to our small martial art channel, and we hope that it continues to serve you with the free videos that we put out. So let's get right into these questions. Dawn asks, how do I handle it when my jiu-jitsu sensei is a forever Trump supporter? Well, let him be. I'm of strong opinion that you should keep politics and religion out of your dojo. I have seen too many people fail with their dojos, and we're going on 14 years now, because they bring in politics or religion into their dojo. If you have a teacher, in this case, who is a Trump fan or a Biden fan, that's really no one's business. However you vote in the booth or what you believe should be kept out of the dojo. A dojo should always be secular in nature. Again, I have seen too many times where dojos have failed because the teacher didn't understand that more than half his student base did not agree with him. So to go on social media and spout your religious views or your political views is suicide, and you are guaranteed to shut your school down, because people are very passionate about that stuff. And that stuff has nothing to do with martial arts. It's a very personal thing, and that should not be on the floor or discussed between teacher and student. Again, it's no one's business who I as a teacher vote for or my beliefs. We are here to practice martial arts, not go to some rally or something like that, or some sermon. So my strong opinion is, and I've seen it validated many times through schools that are no longer in business, is keep your business to yourself, shut up and train. That's my opinion on that. If you want to test it out and start to rant to your students, you watch how many walk out the door or quietly disappear. So that's a good question, and one that comes up more than you think, especially in this election period. Keep it out of the dojo. People go to the dojo to get away from that stuff. Colonel Santos writes, I thought I invented an armbar technique on my own. Then I saw it on two other martial art videos on YouTube, including yours. You beat me to it. ROFL. Colonel Santos, you're right. Every technique that we can think of has already been invented, or high chances are it's been invented already. And when we think we have a new technique, if we do any research, we can find it's been done 100 different ways. There's only so many parts of the human body and so many ways you could move it around. So every technique that I thought I made up is just bits and pieces of another. It's an amalgam of someone else's technique combined with my own way of moving or my own style. But you're right, it's very hard to create some sort of new armbar that no one has seen before. It's possible, but you don't need all those fancy techniques. To me, the most basic and fundamental and easy to do technique is the best. The more fancy you get, the less likely it is to work on somebody, especially if they're strong and resisting, or they're on drugs, or they have a knife or something. Keep it simple. That's the best martial arts there is. Allison asks, what's your favorite martial arts movie of all time? I would say my favorite of all time as far as an influence on me was the miniseries called Shogun. I think it was 1980, 1981, 82. Only because my mother was watching it and happened to be on our television. Remember back then, we didn't have cable TV, no internet. So whatever was offered to you on the 3 networks, that's all we had, is what you had to, to watch. So it was probably a huge event back then. And my mother was watching it, and I got hooked immediately because it was all about the culture of Japan, and the samurai and the ninja and the language and how to act in Japan. This, I think it was 9 hours or 11-hour miniseries, took up more than a week of our television time, And from day one I was completely hooked. I love that series. To this day, I own it on Blu-ray. It still holds up as one of the best, I believe, cultural movies about Japan of all time. It has flaws, of course, but oh my gosh, you can learn so much about the old ways of Japan by watching that movie Shogun by James Clavell. And all the actors in it were really good. They spent a lot of time on it. It wasn't a big budget production, but it didn't have to be. Oh, it has so many great scenes in it about samurai. So I would recommend Shogun. Now there are other great martial art movies out there. You have your own. But that was the one that influenced me to want to become a ninja or a martial art teacher. So what was your favorite movie? Leave it in the comments below. I'd be interested to see if it's one of mine as well. If you had to give your younger self some advice, what would it be? To relax more? To know that you're not being judged as much as you think you are? Most of us, when we're young, care so much about what other people think, and that influences our decisions in life, our choices, and often makes us too scared to act on what we believe is right in our heart. So to talk to my younger self, I would say relax more, have more fun, and don't take yourself seriously, but also don't listen to what other people say. Follow your dream, follow your heart. That's what I would say to my younger self. What's the funniest story of training from your memory? Back when I was doing Ueshido Karate in 1985, I was just a stupid teenage kid. And I remember going to the dojo one day, and this cocky instructor who I never cared for, it wasn't my class, but I was watching another class before we started because those were adults, we were the youth. And he said, watch this, and he was demonstrating someone who had a baseball bat who brought it into the dojo, or he might have, I don't remember. And the guy said, come on at me with the bat. Well, this student had the baseball bat and swung at him, and his intelligent way of dealing with that, rather than getting out of the way or catching the momentum, is this teacher held his hands up to protect his face from the swing of the bat. Well, you can guess where I'm going with this. That bat went right through his hands and fingers, right into his face. I don't think the student was even swinging at more than 75–80% speed. So that teacher proceeded to have his fingers damaged and a broken cheek, broken teeth, broken nose, all because he asked the student stupidly to show off in front of the class how he could block a baseball bat. We all know, as anyone who does any martial arts, that that's a stupid thing to do. So that, I'll never forget the look of shock and horror on that teacher's face as he just got bashed in the face by a student's baseball bat, all because he was trying to show how powerful his block was. He didn't understand physics of the body or anything like that, or biomechanics. So looking back, that was not very smart. What are the top 5 things I will need to open a successful dojo like you have in Cincinnati? I don't believe there's an exact formula for anything like that, but number 1 is capital. You need money to start a business. You can't just hope and wish it's going to come to fruition. And you're going to need a lot of capital. Second is do the research in your area. How many other schools are there? Are there 5 karate schools right around the corner, or is there a market for whatever style you're going to open? If you're going to open a BJJ school, it's not smart to open one where there are 3 others within 5 miles. So find an area where the market demands it. And does the market demand it? If you rent out of a warehouse because it's cheaper rent, or you rent in the worst part of town, you want to make sure that you have street signage. You want to make sure that you are seen by people who drive by. Our dojo gets thousands of cars a day that drive by on the main road. So you want your dojo to be seen. Now, going on social media to promote yourself is fine, but most people on social media are not going to come and train with you. They may wish they could, or they don't have the money, but the people that are going to train are the ones driving by who find it convenient to train at your dojo because it's a mile away from their house, or it's close to where someone does their shopping naturally. It has to be convenient to the family. So that's another one. Expect losses right away. It takes a long time to build up a clientele. I have a couple of 100 students, but it took many, many years to get that. You're not going to start out with 50 students. You're going to start out with one, and you're going to be behind on your rent. And you're going to have to work 12, 18 hours a day to get your business up, just like any other business. Expect failure. And then when you get a nice surprise of some success, be happy with it. Know that most of your students you start with will quit. And hopefully, like me, you might have some that stick around for 12, 13 years, which is very rare. Let's make 4 and 5 more capital. Again, some luck is in there, but you're going to need money. That's just the way it is. So if you're dying to open a school, you're going to have to really work a lot of jobs, save up tens of thousands of dollars so you have a couple months rent to fall back on. Ask for help from your family and friends. But instead of starting some sort of GoFundMe, which is not very good in my opinion, kind of lazy, go out there and work your butt off and earn that dojo yourself. Or start off with a small training club, a small group of people, and then when you get 50 or 60 students, then you can move into a retail space. You don't have to have a big school to have a really good and successful school. You can have 5 students and have a great little school. So don't judge the amount of students that you have on the goodness or badness of the school that you have. But another piece of advice, just start a small training group. And then when you have enough, open your own school. But there's many ways of doing this. That was just one way that I did it, but there are other suggestions that other people with more business sense than myself could come up with. Assassin on Prozac writes, I'm using an extremely dull katana to practice. With that I got from my years of collecting. It can barely cut paper. I guess that's another option for practicing without hurting yourself. And he or she is referring to the sword DVD that we did. It is smart when you're practicing drawing a katana to use an Ei. Ei-to is a non-sharp sword. I wouldn't suggest starting practicing with a sharp sword. It's really not smart. You'll cut yourself. So starting with a dull sword is actually a very valid way to practice. They now make boken wooden swords with sheaths on them, like plastic saya. That's cool to practice, but you're not quite getting the same feel because a sword is much heavier. It's much harder to deal with, whereas a wooden sword is thick and easy and it slides and there's no technicality to it. If you want to really practice a lot, pick up an Ei-to. You can get them all over the internet. Just Google Ei sword and you'll see all kinds of them. And you can get one for about $60 to $150, depending on the quality that you want. But if you want to practice sword drawing, get a non-sharp sword. It will really save your fingers in the end. Good luck with your training. John Rafford writes, I really like this. I only started watching you yesterday. Very addictive. Regarding a semi-skilled grappler or a semi-skilled boxer, what application would be used to combat someone who could retract their hands as quick as you can try to grab them? So, applying a similar technique, but the hands being much harder to get a hold of. John, that's a good question. We address it all the time. Always remember, you guys, when you're watching one of our videos or any video that someone puts out, you're only seeing one little piece of what the instructor is trying to convey that night. I can guarantee you're not getting a full teaching. You can only film so much. 99.9% of anything that you don't see is what we practice. If you see something on YouTube and I'm showing a technique or one of the other instructors, we're only showing one little principle that we're getting across to the class at that moment. Yes, it is extremely hard to catch someone's hand because they're going to punch and retract, and we deal with that constantly. Just 2 nights ago we did a drill where the guy tries to hit you as fast as he can, and as he's retracting, you have to move in and, for lack of a better word, stick to him, monitor his hand so that you can hit back. In other words, you follow his momentum, you follow his speed, because every arm that hits doesn't stay out, it pulls back again like a puppet on a string. And any good martial artist knows how to immediately close that distance to get in and take control. What you probably saw was some sort of movement where we catch the arm and do some sort of twist or something. But I can only catch the hand if it's pushing, lunge pushing, or coming in for a choke or a grab. You will not be able to catch a fist that's trying to punch you. It's too fast, impossible to get. You might get it 1 out of 25 times. But you're right, John, a good grappler, a good boxer, we deal with that constantly in our classes, but you have to come and train with us in order to get those classes in. You're probably never going to see that on the internet. But it's something that we drill every single class and every single day, is how do I deal with a fast boxer? How do I deal with someone coming in with these haymakers? How do I deal with someone that's trying to shoot in on my legs and take me to the ground? All of those are dealt with in our curriculum, but you're probably going to rarely see that on YouTube. Light Yagami 321 writes, I think doing classes through Zoom is really stupid. You can't learn to fight by yourself. Yes and no. If during these times of COVID your only option is to train through a Zoom class with your instructor or coach, go for it. It's certainly better than sitting at home and doing nothing. So Zoom training has its place. Online training is beneficial to a point. You are right, you cannot learn to fight very well by yourself, but you can certainly get the reps in for muscle memory. So just last night we had about 6 people on Zoom, and they were working their butts off during our class, doing all the reps that we were doing, all the rolls on the ground, all the movements. And you can bet by the time that hour is over that they had a good workout, they got their blood pumping, they did a lot of reps for whatever technique we were working on, and they felt engaged with the school, which is even more important. During times of COVID or any type of thing like that, you want to make sure that you have a connection with your dojo. You don't want to feel alone because you're going to end up quitting. If you can't get to your dojo for long distance reasons, or your car breaks down, or you're sick, you're quarantined, it's always best to train through your Zoom class if it's available. Yes, you're not going to become an expert on Zoom. It's impossible to have a long-term training on Zoom. It just won't work. We are doing martial arts here. We're not doing an individual sport. We are doing something that requires another human being or multiple people to attack you and hold you and punch you and grab you and get on the mount and hold you in chokes. And I don't care how good of an imagination you have, you can't do that at home very long. But it is a wonderful option if you are stuck at home. Long term, no. Short term, fine, do it. Again, the people that don't train have zero say in this and have zero experience. It's only theoretical. But the people that are actually signing on to Zoom and sweating and putting on their uniform and preparing their space and working hard to become part of the class and to feel part of something bigger than themselves end up happier, stronger, in better shape, and much more easily could defend themselves against a real attack. So I am all for online classes temporarily. It's much better than doing nothing. Question from Offleck, or a comment. I saw you teaching the kama in a photo. That is not a samurai or ninja weapon. Why were you teaching that? Offleck, you're wrong. It was absolutely a samurai weapon and probably a ninja weapon as well. So the kama, as you know, is a sickle. It's a scythe, a small little hand sickle that you could, like in this field I'm in, you could cut rice with it or harvest things in the ground, holding the plant and pulling the sharp edge toward you, which was curved. So the kama is a stick with a little hook at the end with a sharp edge, and that was used throughout Japan and China, all over the place, you name it, Korea. They had that weapon as a farming tool. It was a staple. It was like a hammer to a carpenter. So yes, it was employed in battle. There are things called bakuhatsugama, kusarigama, which are kamas with chains and things attached to them and weights. They are documented in the Bansen Shukai and the Shoninki, the ninja manuals, that they were used in battle. They were a formidable weapon against a swordsman because you had a long chain that you could whip and break his hands or capture and ensnare the opponent. Then you would come in and slit what you needed to with the kama. So yes, it's not just something out of Okinawa or a karate movie. The kama was all over the Far East, and it's still used today in some forms. So it's a powerful weapon, and it was meant not just for self-defense, but for farming and harvesting as well. My Taekwondo school offers a 2-year fast track to black belt course, but it is expensive. In your opinion, is it worth it? First of all, I mispronounced that on purpose. It's not Taekwondo, it's actually pronounced Taekwondo. Taekwondo, not Thai, but we Americans butcher words all the time, so it's understood. Te means foot or leg, or it means to stomp with your foot. And Kwan is the fist, or to hit with your fist, and Do is the way. Which is confusing because in Japanese, te, as in karate, means hand. Kara means empty. Karate, empty hand. But te in Korean is the foot, so it's all weird. Now, philosophically, Taekwondo is using the parts of the body, the foot, the hand, and all of them, to stop violence. That's what the philosophical part of it means. So you might have heard of it as just a sport martial art, something to be dismissed. It shouldn't be. All martial arts are helpful in self-defense. Some are better than others, in my opinion. But Taekwondo is very popular. It's probably has the most schools of any around the world. And if you can help stop a fight and build a more peaceful world through your martial art, I don't care what the style is or who the teacher is, go for it. You're doing the right thing. You're doing a moral duty to the world if you can stop fights with your voice or your intellect, your sense of humor, or just avoiding the fight altogether. Whether it's a Taekwondo school or a karate school, a ninja school, you're helping society to keep more peace, so that's a good thing. It offers a 2-year fast track to black belt course, but it's expensive. Well, a 2-year course isn't much. I wouldn't think highly of that. This is my opinion now. You're going to get what you pay for. 2-week course or 2-year course is not much. Again, it's better than nothing, but to weigh a 2-year black belt with someone who spends 5 years to get a black belt, there's a huge difference in imbalance in education there and practice, and how many thousands of hours of difference between the two. 2-year course, I wouldn't think much of it, especially if it's expensive. My guess is that school is trying to get money from people. If I'm going to invest in my education, which I've invested literally hundreds of thousands of dollars over the 40-something years I've been training, I'm going to get the best education I can. So for me, it was flying on a plane around the world, going to Japan, going to all over the United States to train with different teachers, different seminars, spending untold amounts of hours in the backseat of someone's car, driving to some small town for a 3-day seminar, sleeping out in the cold in a tent for 4 days in the winter to get some sort of tidbit. You have to invest in your training. If you want to be a martial artist who opens a school one day, I wouldn't base a 2-year degree off of that. I would take several martial arts or find a school where the black belt, you really feel like you've earned it. And I've had people come to me and say, look, I have a black belt, it took me 2 years to get. I don't really have a lot of respect for that, to be honest with you. And remember, when you get your black belt, that just means you have the basics down. Doesn't mean you're a master or you're even proficient. It just means that the teacher can show you the deeper concepts, and he or she doesn't have to teach you how to make a fist or do a simple roll or how to do a simple kick. The black belt, as my old teachers always said, and I've said this many times, My old teachers said to us, once you have your black belt, you suck a little less. And that's absolutely right. Black belt is not much in the martial arts. 5th, 6th, 7th, 8th degree is when you really get up there. But a 2-year program, it's better than nothing. Better than nothing. Ben asks, Mr. Norcross, I admire your work and videos. Could you give me some advice on my first job interview? I've been applying to McDonald's and my first interview is this Friday. That's great, Ben. Good luck with your job. My advice, Ben, would be yourself. Be very polite when you walk in. Dress appropriately, overdress if you need to. Look the person in the eye when you're talking to him or her. Don't look down, which a lot of youth students have trouble with nowadays because they're so fixed with their devices that they actually are afraid and they get nervous to look at someone in the eye. Good eye contact, strong voice, be yourself, don't tell any lies, tell the truth. If they said, have you had a job before? The answer would be no. And do your best. Once you finish the interview, shake the person's hand or elbow them if it's COVID or something. Be respectful and follow up. That's extremely important. I've hired many people over the years, and the ones that I hired were the ones that always called back, because I might have a stack of 10 applications, and if you call me back and say, it's been 2 days, sir, I would like to follow up on my interview and see if you've made a decision, I'm going to go grab yours and pull it out of the stack and look it over again. I always recommend following up with a phone call or an email, something that shows you're interested and you just didn't do 100 job interviews that day. But good luck, Ben. I'm really glad for you that you're getting this job, whether it's part-time or full-time at McDonald's. Keep going, climb that ladder, and when you start to work there, make us proud, be the best McDonald's employee there is. Try hard, work your way up into management if you can, and stick with it. Don't quit. Stick with it and you'll get that raise after a little bit of time. Maybe you'll get some benefits. But good luck, Ben. I'm glad you asked my advice, but that is a couple things you could do that might work for you. Good luck, Ben. Okay, moving right along. Alphonse Elric. Is it possible to parry a shuriken with a katana? Just curious, though. Yes, it's possible. Unlikely, but possible. Think about throwing the throwing star at somebody. It's quite thin, piece of metal. It's designed to distract so you can get away and run away. But there are a lot of factors to think about if you were going to try to parry it with the sword. First of all, how big is the sword? How wide is the blade? Are you holding the sword this way or this way? Is your hand going to get hit? Are you using the scabbard with it? Is it nighttime where you can't see the shuriken coming? What color are the shuriken? How fast are they being thrown? Vertically or horizontally? How good is your hand-eye coordination? How good is your training? Did you blade your body or did you stand flat? What type of terrain are you in? What's the weather? You can see all of these dozens of factors that can't answer your question clearly. Like most answers in martial arts, it's about experience, about getting on the mat and trying it. So if you want to have your friends get some rubber training stars and throw them at you, put some goggles on and see if you can block them and work on that skill set if that interests you. It's very low probability that you're going to block or parry any, but it is possible, just like anything else. If you practice enough, you're going to get better at it and increase your odds of being able to parry a shuriken with a sword. That's my answer to that. Brett Barnard writes, great videos. I'm curious about your different types of sword review. Where did you get your blades? From the looks, there are many types of sellers, many of whom are of debatable quality, not to mention potential scams that are out there. I'm interested in getting into Iaido and was wondering what would be a reputable seller of Boken or Iaito. There are a lot of them. Google this. Google Iaito swords and research. If you get a high quality sword from different companies, you're going to pay a lot of money. You want to make sure you check out what type of metal you are interested in. A lot of Iaito are aluminum alloy. Even some of the best sword companies in Japan who have real trouble shipping you a steel sword, but they can ship an aluminum alloy sword with no restrictions. But to get a steel sword from Japan that's handmade from a smith, you have to go through a huge process and paperwork. And to make a sword in Japan, you have to have a license. And to own a sword in Japan, you have to make sure the government knows that, which makes us appreciate our freedom here in America even more. But again, I say this all the time, you get what you pay for. If you buy a $15 red oak boken off the shelf, chances are it's going to break easily if you're doing any type of combat. If you're practicing solo by yourself and you know you're not going to hit swords together, then a sword like this, which is aluminum alloy, is fine if you're not going to hit it and clash swords together. If you want to do a more realistic iaido where the swords are hitting and you're clashing and parrying, get a steel sword. Do not get aluminum alloy. This is my sword, but watch this. Are you ready? Yeah, do you want to trust your life to that? That's aluminum alloy. Do you see how easily it bends? Well, you ask, why do they make aluminum alloy swords? Because they're cheaper. Steel is more expensive to make. Aluminum alloy in Japan is not expensive. But it's crap, is my opinion, if you're going to be fighting against another person. Because I just take it out of my thing and I can bend it easily. Now this was an old sword I was going to throw away, so don't flip out. I have a dozen of these. But look at that. That's aluminum alloy. To me it's junk. People use them again because it's cheaper, they're faster, they're lighter, and to look cool in a demo, they go faster, especially in movie scenes. But if you're going to be someone like us who does real kenjutsu, who's hitting swords like armor together full speed, you need to have steel. You can get iaito, which are unsharpened, if you want. Pay several $100s, you're going to get a better sword. Research, research, research. Read the reviews. There are a lot of sword people out there that have much more knowledge than myself. Go over to those channels and see what they recommend. But you see what I feel about aluminum alloy. It's a beautiful blade. It stays shiny, it stays clean, doesn't hold its edge, it's soft, it's cheap. So, hope that answers your question. What's your opinion of Steven Seagal? Legit or should he quit? And what's your favorite Seagal movie? Steven Seagal was an action superstar in the 1990s. He was huge. I loved him back then. It was the first time when I took my friends to the theater that I could say to them, look, this is kind of close to what we do. And he was studying Aikido. The first three movies, Out for Justice, Hard to Kill, Above the Law, great movies, well, great B movies, good martial arts. It was the first time on screen you had seen Aikido and that type of genre. Other than that, it was all karate and kung fu. So to see Aikido done in his particular style, which is adding strikes, a lot of Aikido doesn't have kicking and striking. So to see him do that, I was very impressed, loved him. Went to see them multiple times, bought them on VHS tape and Blu-ray and all that. The movies after that, after he started to go on the submarine, and all of those after I thought were terrible, because he's not the best actor in my opinion. He's a legitimate Aikido practitioner. I think he has a 7th Dan through Japan. He had a dojo in Japan, so he was actually teaching people in Japan as a gaijin. I think he married into it though. You know, his personal issues, personal life, I'm not a fan of. Morality, stuff like that, things he said about other martial artists. He certainly doesn't bring together harmony, which is the way of Ueshiba and Aikido, because he'll often make fun of other martial artists thinking he's the best, which is the height of arrogance. He's still in demand at making movies over in Europe. So all of the last 20 films he's done are direct to DVD, and they're mostly terrible, but he gets paid good money for that. They still have a love of him over there, but he doesn't stick with it, so he hasn't practiced Aikido in a long time. And when I watch him in seminars over in Russia, You know, he does about 2-3 techniques, the same ones over and over again, which shows me he's falling back on his laurels. He's using his old techniques from his memory, and he's just showing those. Someone like a Christian Tissier or someone like that, who is a true Budoka, someone who has dedicated their life to the martial arts, you can see the difference between the two. I respect Seagal for what he did for cinema and martial arts. He really brought Aikido out into the world. But his time has come, and there'll be other martial artists. Everything's in a cycle. He's probably an okay guy, but that's really all I have to say about that. Okay, last question. Will Forrester from Victoria, Australia. With Soke Hatsumi retired now and not running classes at the dojo, will you go back to Japan when COVID goes away? I've talked to my martial art friends around the world, and the Bujinkan style, which is one of the styles that I teach several, but the Bujinkan is in a stalemate right now. Soke Hatsumi gave away the Soke ship to other people, his students. So as far as I know, the other lineages are taken care of. There are people that are questioning that as far as what type of time that his students put in, some of them, that he chose to be the next Soke. That's his business. Why he chose them is his business. What he saw in their heart may have trumped what type of time they had training on the mat. Who are we to say who he can give it to and what he can do? If he's the Grand Master, he can do whatever he wants. He can burn everything up and sell it. He can give it away. The fact that he stopped training means nobody's going to Japan because the Honbu Dojo is closed because of COVID. I don't see it opening within the next year. It might. And then again, when it does open and Hatsumi is not there, most people are not going to go to Japan anymore. Some will, because there are some great teachers still there. But they'll never pull the same crowds as Hatsumi did. That ship has sailed. That height of the ninja boom of the 80s and 90s is gone. And it will go when Hatsumi goes. However, there's a chance that it may reboom depending on what the teachers do. Knowing the arrogance in the Bujinkan and the amount of ego that I've seen throughout the years, it'll splinter, falter, and there'll be factions that fight each other. And in America, you're going to get 5 different grandmasters saying they're the best, they're the new authority, come buy my DVDs. That's what you're going to see. This is my opinion. And then you'll have your humble practitioners that are really good at the martial art, that stay quiet and attract a student base that wants to get over that bravado stuff. I don't know if I'll go back to Japan. I might. I don't ever say never. I don't have the urge to go back right now. And if I did go back, I probably want to study another martial art or some sort of kenjutsu with a teacher. Doesn't have to be because of Hatsumi I go back. My love is with the motherland, Japan herself, not the teachers in there. I love the culture. I love the language. I love the landscape, the seascape. Everything about it since my childhood I'm attracted to with Japan. We'll see. We'll see. For now, Hatsumi is retired. He's comfortable. He's happy. He's having meals. He's enjoying his life. And that's what we should wish for him and all the senior practitioners over there. None of us are getting any younger. We're all getting older. So it's up to us to teach the next generation, which I've been doing for 30 plus years, so that the next generation, when we die, they will take over the tradition and let it live on. Hopefully a few of you out there are interested enough that you will take on the tradition. You will find a dojo and a mentor and a teacher that you can study underneath, and then maybe you'll be the next person that will carry on our wonderful traditions of martial arts. And having said that, remember, all martial arts are good. Really depends on your teacher. Doing some martial art is always better than doing nothing. Every day that we sit on our couch and do nothing, or we just think about martial arts, is another day of our life lost. And I tell you, my friends, you don't want to live in regret. Even if you've tried a martial art and you quit after a month, a year, hey, at least you tried it. Too many people out there lie about it to people to make themselves, going back to that first question about finding out who you are as a person and talking to your younger self. Why is it we have to feel the need to lie to people about what we've done or what we've studied? I don't know. There's a lot of sadness out there and a lot of holes in people's hearts, and they think that if they tell people they train in martial arts that they'll be somehow more attractive, more strong. There's 100 reasons why, but why not just get out your phone, look on your computer and find a local place, save up enough money that you can afford the monthly tuition, and then go and train with somebody so that you can feel better about yourself by actually living what we call an authentic life. Authentic meaning you don't have to lie, you tell the truth. Someone says, do you train? Yes, I train down the street at my local BJJ school, and my teacher is so-and-so. And they could actually call your teacher and verify that. That's authentic living. You don't have to lie about it. Just go and do it. Take hold of life. Grab hold of your dream. Why think about it? Thinking about it does nothing. Speaking about it does nothing. It's that third part, the action, is what will dictate who is authentic and who is a liar in life. And I encourage everybody out there watching this video, once you turn this off, take action. Take action and go and train. Grab your sword, go outside. It's better than nothing. Get on your Zoom classes. Become part of some organization and something bigger than ourselves. To me, that's the key to happiness and joy. A healthy life is just finding people you can work with and just having fun, using our life to the best of its ability and to help other people. My gosh, what more can we ask for? Till next time, my friends, thanks so much for joining me in this outdoor field. I'm going to head indoors. What a beautiful day to talk to you. Best of luck in your training. I'll see you next time.